Beautiful. You can unmute and say Yasher Koach to Doniel.
Ah, beautiful.
Doniel, that came through very well. Really nice. We heard the guitar loud and clear. Beautiful. Beautiful singing. Thank you so much. And continued nachas to all of Doniel's various family members and mishpacha. I saw a Sfas Emes this week I'd like to share with you. And the Sfas Emes says the following thing. We all know, very famous Rashi of Chazal, that when Esav met Yaakov Avinu, that he kissed him. The Chachamim say that we know the Torah has dots above the word. So some say that it means that Esav was trying to bite Yaakov on the neck, and Yaakov's neck turned to stone. So he couldn't bite him because he had a stone neck. Others say that no, actually at this particular moment, Esav's brotherly love for Yaakov was evoked, and he kissed him in an authentic way. At that moment, something happened. Now, the Sfas Emes writes from his grandfather, the Chidushei Harim, that the neshika and the neshicha of Esav are one and the same thing. The bite of Esav and the kiss of Esav are one and the same. They're both evil. What's the idea? That Esav understood he was not able to defeat Yaakov militarily. He understood that. Maybe because of the wrestling match with the angel of Esav, which Yaakov prevailed. So seeing that, he decided that he would try to get to Yaakov and destroy Yaakov through friendship, through love. So by trying to get through to Yaakov, by feigning brotherly love, he was hoping in that way to get inside of Yaakov and then ultimately destroy him. And the Sfas Emes says that Yaakov's neck, either way, was like stone. He was impervious to Esav's bite, his neshicha, and he was impervious to Esav's kiss, his neshika. Either way, his neck was stone. He understood Esav was his enemy. No matter how Esav was going to approach him through war or through fawning brotherliness. Either way, it was Esav. A great lesson for us because over the course of our own history and even now, we always have people who are trying to defeat the Jewish people through war and through violence, and other people who are claiming peace but really mean war. So Hashem guarantees to Yaakov that he will be impervious to both. You know, we have a long journey through our golus, through our exile, and we have many, many enemies. And Baruch Hashem, we have some friends too. But it's always important for us to have our eyes open and to make sure that we know who we're dealing with. Over the centuries, in earlier centuries, people who were ardent adherents of the church, of the Christian church, tried to love us to death. We don't want that kind of love. And more recently, in our Palestinian enemies who have claimed to want peace, but we all know that their peace is the desire for the destruction of the Jewish people. And we always have to have our eyes open on both sides. We clearly have friends in both circles, and we're grateful for that. But as Jewish people, we've learned a lot over history. We have to have our eyes open. One of the great encounters of Jewish history occurs in this week's Parsha when Yaakov Avinu has the wrestling match with the angel of Esav, the Sar Shel Esav. Now, this is a universal struggle, a cosmic struggle between the forces of good and the forces of evil. It's not the individual Yaakov versus the individual Esav, even though they were individuals, but this particular wrestling match is a cosmic struggle between good and evil. Yaakov prevails, but he's wounded. And oftentimes we do, Baruch Hashem, prevail, but we walk away not unscathed. And the sun comes out the next day, and Hashem heals Yaakov. He's no longer walking with a limp, he's healed. And this shows us that in the eternal history of the Jewish people, that even though we may be wounded here and there along the course, along the way, ultimately we will be whole and we will be sholem. Vayavo Yaakov sholem. Yaakov came sholem, complete and whole. That's how the Jewish people will conclude our march through history, is complete and whole. Bezras Hashem, may we see that day b'mehera b'yameinu. And Doniel, we'd like to call on you again and hear your next niggun. And what do you got for us now, Reb Doniel?
It's called Vishamru by Adiran.
Okay.
Vishamru Yisrael Es HaShabbos Asais Es HaShabbos Le'doi Raisam B'Rei Yisaylam Beini Uvein B'nei Yisrael I see the Olam. Vishamru Yisrael Es HaShabbos Asais Es HaShabbos Le'doi Raisam B'Rei Yisaylam Beini Uvein B'nei Yisrael I see the Olam. Asa Hashem Es Hashemayim V'es Haaretz U'vayom Hashvi U'vayom Hashvi Ay Shabbos v'yinovash Ki sheishes yamim asa Hashem Es Hashemayim v'es Haaretz U'vayom Hashvi U'vayom Hashvi Ay Shabbos v'yinovash Shamru b'nei Yisrael Es HaShabbos Asay says HaShabbos L'davai Sabirim Saylam ay beini Uvei b'nei Yisrael I see Ki sheishes yamim asa Hashem Es Hashemayim v'es Haaretz U'vayom Hashvi U'vayom Hashvi Ay Shabbos v'yinovash
Beautiful. Please unmute and give a big round of applause for Doniel.
Beautiful, Doniel.
Amazing.
Doniel, it's a very beautiful niggin. That's Adi Ran.
Adiron with some, I don't know who, he sings it with someone, but it's his, I think it's his song.
What a beautiful song. Thank you. I never heard that before. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
And you played it beautifully. Yashar Kaya. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll share one more Devar Torah with you, and then maybe we'll circle back around and just hear that one more time, because I want to learn that a little bit at the end. Another Sfas Emes. Sfas Emes says to me, very fascinating thing. So Hashem had promised Yaakov Avinu that he was going to protect him. And then comes along his confrontation with Esav right around the corner. And Yaakov is afraid. So why would Yaakov be afraid if Hashem has already promised him he would protect him? Now the Chachamim say about this, Shema Goram Hachet. Yaakov was concerned. Maybe he did an Aveira. Maybe he did some type of transgression for which he would lose Hashem's protection. That's a well-known approach to this. Sfas Emes says something a little differently in the name of his grandfather, the Chidushei Harim, and he says that yes, Hashem promised Yaakov protection, Shemira, but Yaakov conducted himself in a way of prayer and devoting himself to Hashem completely and totally as if he was not granted this protection, meaning the fact that he knew that he was going to be protected did not let him let go, even for an instant, of his Yirah Shamayim and of his praying for Hashem's protection. And he takes that one step further and he says, this is the kind of person who Hashem guarantees their protection. A person who does not take that for granted and continues to act in such a way as they would had they not been given that guarantee. And he says, for example, later on in history, when Yaakov Avinu was about to die, and he's giving a bracha to his 12 sons, the Yud Bei Shvatim. And the Chachamim say, Rashi brings it down, that Yaakov wanted to be Magala the Kates, Hayamin, to reveal the end of days to the Yud Bei Shvatim. However, Hashem did not let him do so. Hashem concealed it from him and didn't let him reveal the end of days to his 12 sons. Now, some say he did not reveal it. Others say he revealed it in a hidden way. But if we say that Hashem did not let him reveal it, which is the path the Sfas is taking, it's because of this. Yaakov Avinu could live through the Golus, devoted to Hashem, completely attached to his Philos, and involved in his Philos, even though he knew when we were going to be released. However, Hashem understood that the Shvatim, as great as they were, once they were to know when they were going to be free, it changes a person. They don't act with the same devotion as they do when they don't know. Once a person knows when they're getting out, how they're getting out, it changes the way they act during Golus. So one has to be a very great person to maintain their complete devotion and devotion through tefillah, even though they know what the end is and how the end is. Yaakov knew, and even with that, he stuck to his Yirah Shamayim and his tefillah. Then he adds and he says, and every individual according to who they are and their own relationship with Hashem. So perhaps that means that sometimes we have a little inkling of a Yeshua, of a Geula, redemption, help is on the way, support is on the way. And when we have that little inkling, of course, we're grateful for it, but we mustn't let that take us away from our yearning and desire to Hashem and praying to Hashem to be free, to be released. Even when we know the way out or a little bit of the way out, we must be fully devoted. That's what we see from Yaakov Avinu's intense tefillah and devotion to Hashem, even though he had been promised shmira, protection. So my tefillah that we should always have protection, all of us, from all the harmful things. Hashem yishmorcha mikol ra yishmoras nafshecha. And at the same time, even when we know that things are getting better, to still hold on tight to Hashem, not to let go, just because things are getting better. Still hold on tight. Okay. Now, normally we would say at this point, good Shabbos to everybody, but I want to hear that niggin one more time. So Doniel, if you wouldn't mind, can you please play that again? That was beautiful. I want to see if I can learn a little bit.
Sharuk Yisrael Esa Shabbos Lasar Esa Shabbos Leto Hayraisam Beris Ahaylam Daini Uvein B'nai Yisrael I see Shamruk Yisrael Shabbos since the Shabbos ledoy raisa beris haylam beini uvein bnei Yisrael. I see the haylam. Ki sheshes yamim asa Hashem es hashamayim es haaretz ubayom hashvi'i ubayom hashvi'i ay Shabbos vayinavash ki sheshes yamim asa Hashem es hashamayim es haaretz ubayom hashvi'i ubayom hashvi'i ay Shabbos vayinavash.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doniel. Everybody can unmute so we can say a getting Erev Shabbos and a getting Shabbos to one and all. Great to see you. A beautiful Shabbos.
Erev Shabbos, thank you.
Good Erev Shabbos. Mazel tov.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi.
you. Thank you again.
Good Shabbos.
Good
Good Shabbos.
Everybody.
Yes.
Good Shabbos, Rabbi.
Shabbos, everybody.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
the best,
Doniel.
everybody.
Good Shabbos. Mazel tov.
Yeah, sure, Koa. Thanks. Have a good night, everybody, and a good Shabbos.
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 Shabbos. Shabbos.
Good to see you.